Chapter 12. To see the dawn. From his first vision of Mount Estolia, Zacharias envisioned his descendants riding to the peak and watching the glory of the sunrise. When Zacharias was ready to celebrate his 18th birthday, Zacharias gave him his blessing at 18 and established a tradition of riding to the peak to view the dawn on those pivotal moments in the lives of Estolians that were notable and worthy of mention. Thaddeus Macarios Zacharian, Capitulo 79. Over the next 3 days, Lelaine, Cassie, Morgan, and Isaiah spent almost all of their time together. On the first day, Lelaine admitted that she had never ridden a horse. Isaiah immediately offered to have her ride double with him on his massive white Andy stallion, Zareth. With Isaiah astride his stallion, man and steed were two of the most dynamic individuals of their kind that she had ever seen. He told her that, if she was going to be on the island longer, he would have given her riding lessons. But it didn't make sense to waste her limited time in Estolia with lessons when Zareth was strong enough to carry both. At the end of the third day she was in her undergarments, dressing for dinner. A knock on her door heralded a visitor. Hastily, Lelaine picked up her dress and held it in front of her. The concept of personal privacy was a little skewed in Estolia. A knock on the door was typically followed immediately by the door opening. She relaxed when she saw it was Cassie. "Oh good," Cassie exclaimed, moving forward to where Lelaine was standing. "You chose the gold dress." She was quick to help Lelaine into the old-fashioned garment. Cassie spoke non-stop, about the things they had done that day, about the things they would do the next day, and about Morgan Luke Dumaine. It was only when Lelaine was ready to go with her to the master dining room that Cassie finally stopped talking and led the way out of the guest suite. Cassie was so bubbly and self-assured that it was easy to think of her as being perfectly confident about her life and her place in the world. There must be a reason for Cassie's silence. "Is something wrong, Cassie?" she asked tentatively. She'd never had a friend to care about. She did not want to pry, but sensed that it was rare for Cassie to be silent. Cassie opened her mouth to say something, but they were interrupted by Cassie's mother urging them to hurry up. Cassie grabbed Lelaine's hand and they walked together to the dining room. The evening meal was as pleasant and as beautifully presented as every other meal. Lelaine became accustomed to being waited upon by cheerful Estolians who all treated the king and the royal family with familiarity. They were enjoying a confection at the end of the meal when Isaiah said, "Tomorrow morning I would like to watch the sun rise from the top of Mount Estolia." Theo responded, "I will not be able to accompany you." Apologetically, Leo said, "I, too, will not be able to make it this time." "Morgan and I want to come," Cassie said. She threw a saucy dimpled grin towards their other guest. Morgan was swift to agree. "Will you be able to accompany us, Lelaine?" Isaiah asked. "It is something that every person should experience at least once in their lifetime." "It won't be too much for Zareth?" she asked. "No, he is very powerful, and you are not heavy. I would be most pleased if you would accompany us." Isaiah's softly spoken invitation was all it took for her to agree. She pushed her roiling emotions into the background. She didn't need to think about her past right now. Lelaine leaned back against Isaiah, feeling Zareth take a deep breath. They were on the lesser peak of Mount Estolia, and the first streaks of dawn were starting to lighten the iron grey of pre-dawn. Cassie and Morgan were some distance away, talking softly, their voices an indistinct mumble on the crisp morning air. As the sky progressed through a rainbow of colors until it was a blazing fiery red, Isaiah's arms around her waist grew tighter, silently sharing with her the panoramic beauty. She rested her hands on his in front of her and absently stroked them. "Tonight is a special night," he said, once the sky lost the last hint of rose. His breath was warm on her ear as he spoke. "Uncle Theo has decided that his last formal act before the ceremony will be the blessing he will give you." Isaiah turned Zareth away from the precipice and started down the pathway they climbed an hour earlier in near total darkness. Cassie and Morgan followed on their horses. "I understand you and Cassie have special gowns you will wear," Isaiah said. "I am looking forward to seeing what the dressmaker was able to create." If it's your birthday tomorrow, do your family have any special plans? Indeed, his voice rumbled in his chest. There are some special plans in the works. Tonight, I will share some of those plans with you. You did, after all, venture to Estolia to learn about the religion, yes? Your birthday celebrations have a religious element? Over the last few days they did not spend much time talking about religion. She enjoyed their activities so much she did not want to remember her reasons for being in Estolia. Indeed. For Estolian men, the most pivotal year of their life is their 30th year. She could hear the smile in his voice. As I am to be king, it is more momentous for me than for any other man. The half-formed notion that he might be attracted to her came crashing to earth. This man, no matter how human and approachable, was going to be a king someday. He would not want a little nobody like her permanently in his life. Even if he did, she had her own insurmountable barriers. She wished she had never heard of Estolia. Life would be more barren after she returned to Alabama than it would have been if she never came here and met Isaiah. No other man could be as interesting or vibrant. She would store up her memories and pull them out to cherish them throughout her long, lonely life. She had only a few days left to fill with enough happiness to last her a lifetime. At the base of the mountain, Isaiah reined Zareth to a halt. This is the royal cathedral, and beyond it, built into the mountain itself, is our temple, he said to her. Your blessing and the other elements of the ceremony will be held here in the cathedral tonight. Afterwards we will travel back to the palace for the celebration in the grand ballroom. I'm looking forward to it, she said. For the night, at least, she would be able to forget reality, Randolph, and Alabama and immerse herself in the fantasy that Isaiah was seriously interested in her, and that she was free to be with him. I, too, am looking forward to it, he said. He reined Zareth away from the temple and then pulled up abruptly at the sight of Morgan leaning across the gap between his and Cassie's horses to kiss her. She noticed her brother watching them and pulled away from Morgan to canter back towards the palace. Morgan glanced towards them and then set out after Cassie, a determined expression on his face. I see that I shall have to have a discussion with Morgan, Isaiah said, his tone dark and forbidding. Lillian was depressed at the thought that Isaiah could as easily be warning her off as planning on warning off Morgan. Later that afternoon, the two women prepared for the gala evening. Cassie was silent and withdrawn. When she was fastening the buttons on Lillian's dress, she asked, "What do you think of Morgan?" "He is quite handsome and appears to be quite taken with you." "I think, if he had the chance," Cassie said slowly, "that he would seduce me." She looked off into the distance with a frown. When her eyes met Lillian's, her expression grew more light-hearted and she laughed wickedly. "I do believe, Lillian, I would let him seduce me," she sighed before saying, "but my brother will warn him off." Lillian had no idea how to respond to that. Isaiah had never given the slightest inclination to kiss her or seduce her. She wouldn't have minded a little bit of seduction. "Has any man ever seduced you, Lillian?" "Me?" she squeaked, incredulous. "I've never been that close to any man." She thought about the one man who had been close enough to possess her and was grateful, for the 100th time, that his peculiar drives did not extend to what she could offer. Cassie laughed. "You are quite beautiful. If you gave my brother encouragement, he would seduce you." "Cassie." "Lillian." Cassie parroted back. "Tonight, my brother will monopolize your time. I am glad. This way I will be able to take all of Morgan's time,